Welcome very much to today's webinar, Dallmayr, on our new Panomera W series. My name is Josef Braun. I run product marketing and PR for Dallmayr here out of Germany. And I think we want to immediately jump into medias res for the next 30 minutes. I want to start the presentation with, well, actually the headline of our press release announcing the Panomera W series, because there's a few important things that basically we want to cover today. The first one is that I will not only show a product, a camera, you will also not see any tables with any technical features or things like that. I'd rather would like to focus on the economical aspects of a total video security or video surveillance solution, because as we know from experience, and probably some of you, if you're installers in the call, can share it, that that experience that the economical aspect of the total solution, total cost of ownership, achieving real security goals is one of the least well established aspects of video security technology. And the other thing, well, what you can see here is, of course, the functionality when it comes to capturing large areas with video technology. And then on the headline, so to say, you can see that we will also talk about a probably innovative way of assembling, mounting, installing the new solution. From that, quick agenda. Well, for those of you in the audience who are not so familiar with Dallmayr as a company, I will quickly talk about our corporation, Dallmayr as such. No worries for those who are familiar with us, it's not going to take long. And then cheap versus economical focus will be really on some considerations about total cost of ownership of video surveillance solutions. And then, of course, I think everybody is excited and interested to see what we do on the product side with actually the new Panomera W series and what we think makes it different. The webinar is in listen-only mode. Please ask questions at the end of the chat and at the end of the webinar via the chat window. I'm not capable of multitasking too much, so it's not possible to answer any questions during the call, but I will happily answer if there is any questions at the end of today's webinar. Few words on Dallmayr. No worries, this is not going to be 10 PowerPoints on the company, and I'm pretty sure you can read the slides very well yourself. I just want to focus on two things on the first bullet point here. The first one is 35 years. We are very happy this year to celebrate our 35th anniversary as a company, and that is a message as such already, because there's not many video technology companies that have survived more than 3 decades. Actually, as far as I'm concerned, in the European region, it's only us, more or less. That for the customer and for the installer has one clear implication, and that is a lot of experience in our various industries that you can read down there. And that is something our customers benefit from already in the consulting stage of any project, because we just can, compare so many practical elements and practical experience from various industries out there. And the other one is video information technology. What does that mean? As we hopefully are all aware in the call, video technology is the brink of a real quantum leap with analysis, with data, with artificial intelligence technologies just being around the corner, being developed. We all know that there's a lot of dynamics in that, a lot of myths also, but a lot of opportunity when it comes to assistant systems, assist humans when they perform their professional acts in video surveillance, but also video technology plays a core role when it comes to analytics and capturing data. To quote our CEO, Mr. Dallmayr, he always refers to a video camera as a soon-to-be smart optical data sensor, noting that there is no easier, no more cost-efficient way of capturing data from complex context situations than a video image. So those two things are, I think, important. And also when we go to the presentation today, and the other one is made in Germany, or make it a bit more open, let's say, made in Europe. Why is that important? We are all aware that cybersecurity and privacy are some of the key topics in general, and in particular when it comes to video technology. And being a company that manufactures and has the entire value chain based out of Germany, we have a lot of control over every single step of product development, of hardware we use. And we also are proud to say that we live in a country that is, and work and develop and manufacture in a country that is following the rule of law, and where it's a bit unlikely that a governmental institution will approach us as a company and say, hey, you know, please build in this and that backdoor in your systems. We want to have a look in some customers or other countries' networks through that. So not more to be said here, but we see that the Made in Germany brand, which is in some, you know, manufacturing and other areas a bit, you know, devaluating within the global dynamics when it comes to cybersecurity. It's a very important quality trademark or brand mark, if you wish. So much on Dallmayr. A few more things that I want to share on the way we look at our customers, the way we look at projects, and to use or abuse the old Aristoteles saying, the whole is more the sum of its parts. I think everybody who owns and drives a car knows that it's not only about the car, it's about, you know, where do you bring your car to service, how narrow is your servicing network, what's the price for service for additional products, what is the value of the car, how well have you been consulted when you made the buying decision, do you need a sports car, do you need a station wagon for your family, and so on. It's not much different, the way, even actually more relevant when we talk about investment goods and B2B business. So having products, and we come from the recording technology side that you can see in the right upper bubble here, and then developed cameras pretty soon, and we have with Panomera a camera technology in place that allows you to cover large spatial areas still in a way that is unprecedented, and we don't have a competitive product out there because we are still patented with our Panomera solution. So this is cameras and recording. We work more and more in developing our software solutions in the Hemisphere software platform for security in business, where video management systems is only part of the whole picture. There's a lot more modules that you can attach to our software world to give you capabilities for analytics, for data analysis and data correlation, which should not be topic of today's call. We are most certainly going to set up another one to focus more on that aspect. So those are the three product areas, if you wish: cameras, recording, software. That's what you have to have. Even that is something that not every vendor can give you, having feet on the ground in all those three areas. But there's much more to it, which we tend to call soft factors, for example. When it starts with planning, we have the very important thing, which we will elaborate a bit more in the next 20 minutes. Can I already in the planning say exactly which area that I want to cover? Do I have which resolution quality? This is very important for court usability when it comes to criminal investigations, for example, but it's also very important to have a defined data quality when I want to do analytics with my video systems. How many cameras do I need, and so on. With our 3D planning and project engineering team, we can create a digital twin of the customer's environment, all the way up to big football stadiums. We equipped 9 out of 12 football stadiums for the last World Championship in Russia, for example. So how can you make big, large installations like that in the planning phase, make planning as easy and cost efficient as possible? FAT stands for Factory Acceptance Test. That basically means that every installation that or every project that we put together, we set up entirely, including all the network components, software, and so on, in our headquarters here before it, and in our manufacturing site, before it goes to the customer. We thoroughly test it. Customers can come to our headquarters, get trained on the system and all that, depending on what exactly you need. And only once it's fully tested, it goes on site to the customer. And then, of course, at the beginning, as I mentioned before, 35 years of experience doing the consulting in the right way, make sure the customer gets what he needs, what solves his problems, addresses his pain points. And then, of course, also have the right service that we mostly realize with our worldwide network of high quality partners out there, of whom some of them, or many, are in the call today also. So much on Dalmaier as a company. I want to spend a few minutes on a few ideas around total cost of ownership, or actually going beyond that, looking at the entire solution from a pure cost efficiency perspective. When there is a public tender for a project, it's always the question, or the one vendor, the offer will get finally will be bought, that is the most economical solution. They never talk about the cheapest solution in a public tender, as some of you are most certainly aware. And then when you are working for a video technology company, and that is certainly not confined only to Dalmaier, when you are at a trade fair, you have a lot of people still coming to your booth, and they ask you, hey, how much is one of those cameras? And that is probably a very narrow way of approaching a project or a solution, because as we all know, in today's time, it's not only about mounting a camera somewhere. You need software that is either easy to use or not, that gives you the results that you want, the usability, and the solution. You need recording hardware, but you need infrastructure as well. So if you have a solution that requires a lot of single sensor cameras, you need a lot of masts, you need a lot of cabling. If there's a more elegant way, using way less camera systems, you need less of that, and that gives you, of course, an advantage on the cost side. Same applies, of course, to indoor environment, just slightly different. Then, as I already mentioned, planning. Can you make sure it's not only putting a camera somewhere? You really can define the resolution density in all the area that you want to cover. Can you make sure in the planning that you plan most efficiently, so the minimum required amount of cameras only, not more than necessary? Is there information coming out of your planning process that helps with the mounting and the actual installation? So there's a lot of cost related to planning. And then when it comes to installation, how thoroughly is the system tested? Do you still have a lot of testing effort when you are on site and implement the solutions, or is it plug and play? Mounting, of course, how fast, how easy can you mount your systems? Operations, how many operators do you need? What is the total number of screens you have when it comes to your video surveillance system? How easy is the software to use, or is there a lot of what is called unproductivity cost? That is when people spend time that is not productive, but to operate the system, but they don't create any value in those minutes or hours. Do you achieve your security goals? I mean, if you have a perimeter and still people steal stuff from your premises, that's probably there's a piece of cost associated to that, or you can't prosecute them because you don't see any details on the footage that you have. And then, of course, again, number of cameras has implications to maintenance and support. So has quality. How long can you really run the systems? Can you go beyond the usual 5 years because the build quality is sufficient? So all that gives you a cost thing, and making things easier, which you will see later. The key benefit of Panomera is that you need way less camera systems than you need with conventional solutions. Means less of everything what you can see here, and that at the end of the day makes things more cost efficient and gives you the most economical solution. And what we want to show here, this is of course just an example, is how much saving do you have when you look at the total cost of operations of your solution, and not only ask how much is one of those cameras. Spending a little bit of time on the goal thing that we mentioned. This is actually taken length borrowed from IPVM, a website that probably most of you are familiar with, a very neutral, completely advertising money-free website that does a lot of testing on video technology, video surveillance. They 2 years ago actually went out to different vendors, doesn't matter who and so on, that's not the point of this slide here, with a request for proposal, which you can see here, where was basically we want to monitor a farmer's market. You see a little Google Maps screenshot on the right-hand side, and we want cameras to monitor the area. The interesting bit is there is a DIN norm out there that we will talk about a little bit more in a few minutes, that gives you an exact or more or less exact definition of pixels per meter for certain identification levels or resolution levels. So the bottom one is 250 or more pixel per meter is what they call identify. That's typically the resolution density where in almost all cases a judge will say, hey, that individual that is sitting in front of me is the person that I see on the video footage, so I can give him a verdict. Whereas when you are in the 62.5 pixel per meter area, then you can see something is happening, there is people, but you will probably not be able to prove in front of court that the guy that was caught or so is really the guy on the video. And I mean, look at on the monitor, 12.5 pixels per meter. To quote from one of the comments in when that report was published, they just say, yeah, well, if you have that, the police will come, they will laugh a lot, and then they will just go away again because you can't see anything of relevance on the video. And then what came out of that comparison was that you have a price difference or cost difference for the offering between $9,000 and $135,000. So just that is obviously the reality in our world of video surveillance technology, and not much has changed since 2016. On that end, this is how installations are being done out there. And one of the key goals of Panomera W series and Panomera in general to change exactly that, make it possible to have this exactly definable resolution density. It might be different. You might have a situation where you want to do analytics, you want to see or identify, classify cars, persons, or people, then you need probably something like 62.5 pixels per meter minimum. If you want to really identify unknown people, we are at the 250 and so on, what I mentioned before. Then plug and play is a very important factor, ease of installation, save time there. And then what you also want is have as few operators as possible cover a large areas or an area as large as possible. And then at the end of the day, it's the most economical solution that we are looking for. So definable resolution density, mentioned again. I think many of you in the call can share this. This is the typical approach in video technology until today. Is, let's mount the camera there and then let's wait and see what we see. Or do I know exactly what I can see, where, and in which image quality? Because as mentioned already, you need that to make sure you have the right data quality for video analytics and a proper recognition level when it comes to court usage. How do we do that? As I already mentioned, in our 3D, 2D, and 3D planning approach, you can exactly define where you have which pixel density. Here is the DIN norm, EN626764. That gives you the exact quality that you need, and then you can decide, okay, what is the use case, what is the goal I want to achieve, and what is the appropriate pixel density. What you see here is a screenshot of the actual Panomera view, the image. It might be at the first glance, typically operators get used to it in like 10-15 minutes. What do you see here? It's like you stand somewhere and you turn yourself around by 360 degrees, And then you also look down, because one of the unique features of the Panomera 360 is that we also have a detail sensor that goes directly underneath the camera. So basically, what you see here is a flattened out hemispherical view of the entire environment. And then in there you can zoom in as often as you want, and then have your details views in the pixel density that you require. And the way we do it when we plan is, on the left-hand side, you see a screenshot on the top. This is the 3D planning view, and then below is the real situation, again with the aforementioned pixel densities. Again, the same applies when I want to run analytics. I need to have the defined pixel density to assure I have the right data quality in for my analytics capabilities. Again, three things here: court usability. Why is that so important? Data quality for analytics. Garbage in, garbage out is an old database theorem. Basically says when you put bad data into something that processes the data, the output can only be as good as the input, obviously. And then what we talk to many customers about is the whole artificial intelligence-based analytics today. This is really just the starting point. So we don't know what will be there in 3-5 years when it comes to analytics. So it's probably a good idea to have a camera system already today that gives you that capability to make sure you have the right data quality already in the planning. Now, going back from all the artificial intelligence and the analytics to the core functionality of any video surveillance, and that is basically having an overview. Again, here of a scene. There is some funny stitching technologies out there. Some competitors put sensors in a circle. They put a PT set underneath, which then of course can give you only that overview of the detailed view of the PT set. You lose everything else, or you just put many individual cameras there, or you have something that gives you a really smart display of a 360 spatial context. And of course, why do we want to do that? Because we have more control of the situation with less cameras, and at the end of the day, it's all about work relief for the operator. Have one operator be able to cover more than before. So having that said, I'm trying to share a little bit of a video. I hope this works. This is now a mock-up of what you see in a camera system. We will have some real footage as well. So below, again, this is the overview. This is your 360-degree hemisphere, if you wish. So if that guy on the right side would leave the area towards the right side, he would show up again on the left side, as simple as that. Now you can zoom in, and the operator can open multiple of those zoom windows with a mouse click. He can zoom in and then have a clear, detailed view of multiple scenes. That is very important, especially when we think about complex situations where you have multiple areas or multiple events happening in a certain environment, and you want to have a look at all of them in parallel, which is not possible with comparable solutions. Then the other one I want to show you is here. This is actually in front of a football stadium here in Regensburg. On the top, you see the distance and you see the pixel density. As mentioned before, you also have the different levels: observe, recognize, identify, and then I can zoom in and have a closer look. And what also comes very handy with Panomera systems is there is multiple systems installed in front of the parking lot, and once the system finds out that there is another camera that gives me a better view on a certain scene, then let's take this car, for example, and I want to have a different perspective. Oops. I can actually keep it and then go to the second camera and look at a certain situation, like in this case, the black car, from a different perspective, from a different angle. The same applies when I go into an indoor situation. I think this is a nice comparison also here. In this case, it actually opens a camera that goes from top to the gambling table here, and shows me the detail. On the right hand side, I always see the detail view. I can zoom in, but I can also, let's see, see that lady in the turquoise nightgown, for example. Same thing as I showed you before, and let's have a look what happens if you do the same thing with the PDZ camera. So you already see on the top right hand corner, it's a very complex environment. It's not really clear what is the overall situation there. And then when you zoom in with your PTZ, what happens is that, of course, you get a good zoom view, but which is marked in red over here. A big part of the entire scene is, of course, not recorded and not visible. So much on a quick view into the camera. Another screenshot here. This is actually a parking garage. Again, you see on the top the overall view, the 360, and then we have, in this case, two detail views. The bottom one is, this is, by the way, including object tracking. On the bottom one, you have the orange one, and then on the right-hand one, you have the details in the blue zoom box. So much on the camera. In the interest of time, I will hurry up a little bit. I mentioned the true plug-and-play system. Again, here, this is the situation as you have today, manual setup, multiple tools, you have to configure stuff manually, or do you have a system that is really pre-configured, where maybe you only have to use one tool, and there's a few cool ideas where some engineers thought about working closely with installers out there. What are good ideas to make the mounting easier and make the implementation simpler, faster, and then of course at a lower cost. What we invented here is the so-called Panomera mounting concept or mounting system. Basically what it means is that you have, and that does not only include the 360 version, but also the next generation of the Panomera systems for large areas or long distances. We have a unified mounting system with what we call quick lock. You see on the right hand side with where the yellow arrow is, it's a stainless steel, solid stainless steel bolt, the quick lock bolt that goes into a patented counterpart, where you can with one person mount the camera. It clicks in and then it's already secured, and then you can do the adjustment and then finally fix it there. This quick lock system fits into various holders and mount systems there. And then what's more to it, if you look at the guy in the middle, we have a smart one usage handle there. So when you open the package, you just grab it, pull it out, and then the black stuff on the bottom of the camera is foam. It's for protection of the camera, of course, inside the box, but it will stick or stay on the bubble. And then when you are on the building site, you just can put it down somewhere. The bubble is protected until really you have mounted it in the holder. Not more details here in the interest of time, but it's a really smart system. By the way, going back on the Panomera system, the versatility there, of course, also allows things like when you go into public area surveillance or city surveillance, for example, you have 3 or 4 hotspots that you want to protect, but not the entire year, but only for 4 or 6 weeks or something like that. You can mount the cameras for 6 weeks in that spot, and then you take them off, mount them for another 6 weeks in the next spot, and so on. And you save a lot of money, of course, because you don't have to buy camera systems for all the 3 spots, but only the holders. Potential use cases, I think that speaks for itself. There is not that many limits, so it depends really. And we can put the camera systems in many, many places. Another aspect Some of you may have already seen the little junction box that is also part of the Montera system. Currently, we can have up to 4 terabytes of video recording storage in the junction box to enable use cases where you have very low bandwidth situations. For example, we can or will have in the future analytics capabilities in that box. And then it's also, of course, possible depending on the situation, of course, that you have systems where you don't need any central recording at all anymore, because you only record what your VCA/AI camera-based analytics give you as events. You only record those, and you record them just inside the camera, and then just take them out if something has happened over your low bandwidth network connection. So there's a lot of options out there to make the things easier and more IT friendly. Last but not least, design and build quality. Mentioned that already. Manufactured in Germany with a high focus on manufacture quality, on material quality. Also, we invested heavily in the design of the system, which will become more and more clear, by the way, once the next versions of long distance and area cameras will be released. This is how one design language across the entire Dallmayr camera family, what you will see soon, which is important for environments that are architecturally sensitive. So we all know that the video camera is not necessarily the most beautiful thing on the planet, and we've changed that with a design that is stays in the background. On the other hand, has its own language, and there's a whole lot of features that we don't have time to talk about. The cables are hidden. There is certain shapes that are nice to the optical perception of humans and so on that went into the camera. So I'm almost at the end of my presentation today. Takeaways, again, if you wish, what I would love if you can take away from this call is really how important the minimum resolution density is for all sorts of applications, how we change the way of how the camera systems are mounted, the control and efficiency factor. Less screens means much more operator efficiency. And then please keep in mind, and I think that's the key message here, it's the most economical, it's not the cheapest solution. That if you're an installer in this call, if you want to consult your customer, or if you're an end user that you want to have, that gives you the most goal achievement for the lowest total cost of ownership. Before we go into the Q&A session, I don't think there's going to be too many anyway. I want to share this is now the volunteer part, because we ran over a little bit already, but maybe you want to stay with me for just a few more minutes. I will share another little movie that I think quite impressively shows what can actually be done with the W series, in this case, in an airport. It's a true solution, or not a real world solution that is already in production. Interior of an airport, we cover more than 1,000 square meters with more than 125 pixels per meter, which is showed here a little bit. That was the prerequisite of the customer. And then the whole idea is we connected or put 2 of those systems together to really cover that huge spatial area, and then be able to open high resolution zooms in one or multiple areas like we do here. And then, oh my God, there is this little left behind suitcase, the typical lost luggage thing. And we didn't detect it with AI because it's still science fiction, but we could see it. And then the other guy is, for example, interested in the congestion in front of the self-service things here. And then we do apply some AI now in the real world, because we do people counting. The same time over there now, hey, finally the guy picked up his little suitcase, so this problem is solved. We are happy that nothing happened, and it was just left behind for a few seconds. And here we can, for example, send an alert to some of the operators saying, hey, you know what, there's way too many people waiting. Maybe you send some more staff down there. And then when you run the analytics later, you may come to the conclusion that there's a certain time when there's a lot of people always queuing up, and you can take those data and optimize your processes and so on. And if you abstract what you just saw, I mean, there's multiple applications in many industries, especially also when it comes to the analytics part, where you can use data to optimize your processes to make things easier, better, and make better informed decisions. And with that, I'm at the end of my presentation. Apologies for the slight overrun. I hope it was still worthwhile for you to have a little bit of a glance in our new Panomera W series systems. You will, in the aftermath of the presentation or the webinar, you will receive an email with additional information, a nice product brochure, first and foremost, and you will also get a replay of today's webinar, so you can use it if needed. With that said, I'm done. I will leave it open for a few more minutes. Typically, there's not many questions coming in webinars like that, but if you feel like you want to know something right now, just feel free to type on in the chat window. And obviously, there are no questions coming in. Then I wish you a very nice evening when you are in Europe, and a great day when you are in the Asian part of the world. And I wish you a very nice morning in the US. And I hope to see you soon in one of our webinars. Goodbye.